This is going to be a different type of video than the one I normally do. It's really just impromptu. It's kind of a last minute thing. I've been undertaking to resurface my desk. Just put some polyurethane on it, but as I was doing it, I had some old coating I think I already threw out, but yeah, I got a bunch of, well, I have too many books, I think, so I figured I'd put some of them to use and start cutting out pictures, and it's probably going to turn out to be something I regret doing, but because the natural wood finish is so nice, but hey, I set this back up. I feel like I'd be inspired by having some really meaningful pictures, sitting on my desk. So I already did 2 thin coats of polyurethane, and for all you woodworkers out there, I'm sure there's definitely a better way I could have done it. Maybe I should have put the pictures on from the freshly raw, open sanded wood, I guess. But I got some really, well, it's going to be kind of insightful. It's going to be like a little look into my mind, I guess, is really what it's going to be. Because I got a little bit of science all the way to some religious themed stuff. And I'm Christian by the way I was, my childhood, my upbringing. I grew up going to all different types of churches. None of them were Catholic, but I certainly have that instinct. When I was younger, I attempted, I was like 10 years old, I remember trying to read the Bible, and I've always been inclined to be fascinated by God, so I have some images here of, like this for instance. I think it's really symbolic. It's a total solar eclipse, and the image is a little bit less saturated than I like. It's a little bit faded looking, kind of that old something. I think it's out of one of my books from the 80s. But to me, it's pretty amazing that the moon at a certain, it's apogee or perigee, one of those two, is the exact same diameter as the sun from Earth's perspective. So that's a solar eclipse blocking out all the sun's light, and seeing the I got it on autofocus, seeing the solar prominences, the flares coming out from it. Let's hold it the right way here, is the Andromeda Galaxy, and it being the closest major galaxy to us, we're able to have a pretty cool, pretty in-depth, pretty high-res image of it. And actually, I think, in fact, these actually might be roughly proportional, because I think I remember something like, just to the naked eye, the Andromeda Galaxy, it's so faint we can't see it, but it's still in size, is about 6 times as wide as the moon, so that actually might be roughly accurate, believe it or not, to scale. And let's see what else. Yeah, this is just a drawing from the 1940s of a 200-inch telescope. If you can see at the bottom there, these guys, look how tiny these guys are. There. Well, I can hold it back so we get perspective. But there, like this little guy right here, is at the helm. Is at the control console. And it's just, the picture gains a new meaning. Of course, you got the stars gazing into the heavens here. And it looks like, yeah, typical mechanical contraption until you look at the sheer magnitude of this object in lieu of the small itty-bitty little characters right there. It's a testament to, one of them. It's a testament to both our engineering ability and our goals, our desires to want to look into the heavens and, discover more about the universe. So I'm going to put those next to the Andromeda Galaxy and the eclipse. And, I'm sorry about my thumb, by the way. I knocked it when I was changing Molly's brakes the other day. So let me show you briefly. I've cut out a few pictures, and there's a couple more pictures I'd like to cut out. And I thought maybe cutting them out on camera would be a nice little something to watch. You guys could relax too. Let me just show you guys the ones I already did. And I'm going to have to whittle these down and really decide which ones I really want to keep. But let's see. There's, the basic theme is me, I guess, what I'm interested in. I'll put these over there. I was just going through Molly's book, Art Through the Ages, from the Western perspective. And it's paintings all the way from, I think, roughly 1200, the high Middle Ages, all the way up to the late 20th century. And I found some really interesting ones. This is kind of going to be sporadic, not chronological by any means. This is by the famous poet, writer, and he was also an engineer, real Renaissance man, Goethe, in the 1700s, I think. He drew this, or maybe he engraved it, I'm not sure. But it reminds me of that movie Annihilation a lot. It's like one plant with a multitude of different species of plants in it, as a part of it. So we got like potatoes, peanuts, I don't know, all the root foods, and then we have all these different types of leaves and flowers. So I just thought it was a really cool cross-section of the scientific understanding, and then of course the tree structure in general to me is all of these are kind of interconnected. This guy Carl Jung I've been reading a lot of lately had a famous phrase that in order to reach heaven, or to have an understanding, comprehension of what it would take to reach heaven, your roots must go down and have an understanding of hell. So it's there's a word called enantiodromia, which means the tendency of a thing to transpose into its opposite. And it seems like there's a yin-yang thing going on throughout the universe. You can't really have too much of anything without its opposite somehow. So that's cool. I like that theme. And just like that, the beauty of a woman here, I think this is. So this one here, well, to me it just reminded me of this girl's drowning. It reminded me of that movie Melancholia with Kirsten Dunst, actually. Watching it might be where they copped that scene from. I just watched that video of that drunk girl waking up at someone's house saying she copped it as an excuse to stay when they asked her to leave. That's pretty funny.
I copped this house. I copped this house. I copped this house. Copped. I I don't need to leave this house. I copped it.
The fact that this picture of a beautiful woman holding beautiful roses in a beautiful setting, and she's either dying or is already dead, and I think that transition, that juxtaposition of two extremes. She's surrounded by life. I mean, she's in water, the stuff of life, and yet she's dead. So, to me, that's deep. It's profound. I like it. At least, my little understanding of art. I've never really taken a class on art, so. This guy right here, it's really cool. It's a, let me find it real quick. I'll show you real quick. It's a dreamer in the desert, and he's sleeping, so he's in a very vulnerable state, being asleep. And where did I get that from? Just gotta find the page. Henri Rousseau, 1897. Try not to get my oily fingers on this. Called The Sleeping Gypsy. Depicts a doll-like but menacing lying, sniffing at a recumbent, dreaming figure in a mysterious landscape. The painting conjures the vulnerable subconscious during sleep. And that's so true. Actually, maybe it's what kind of made me want to do this, but subconsciously, but I had a pretty crazy dream about my family being in peril last night, so, and I didn't save them. I woke up right before, right as I made the actions to start saving them, so I guess at least that's a step in the right direction. There's so many. Honestly, I'm gonna do a video in this book because there's so many different styles and so much genius art, so many layers to break down and interpret that I was never previously aware of before I, started reading about this. Van Gogh's Starry Night, right there. And let's see, is there anything else? Yeah, I got a fascination with apes, just how similar they look to us. And I thought this one was really, really cool. I actually was gonna set it up like this, I think. Right here. So we got the man looking past the ape, or through the ape, to a genius of man. And, this guy's not a genius, but the gorilla looking through the man, sitting in front of another, I think that's a gorilla. Yeah, that's a gorilla. I don't know. Just symbolism on the fly, I guess. Alright. This isn't so artistic, but to me, I think it's more important than I actually realized initially when I've been slowly inserting it into some of my videos, that after I learned that the brain, with its neural network, the network of our neurotransmitters among all these systems in the brain is the most complex thing that we've ever discovered. So we look out into the cosmos, we delve into the subatomic quantum world, and the brain is the most complex thing we know about. So to me, that's pretty important. And then this one right here by William Blake. It's beautiful. I don't know. I just like it. It's either God or some type of God figure, I guess. Again, making a divergence through the clouds. So, pretty neat. And let's see, this one. This one I might not use, but it's from the book. Where's that book? So this book I read years ago, and it's too much to explain, I guess, in one brief summary. But I think it's something that we've just barely scraped the surface of. It's like, I feel like chaos and some of the things that some of our scientists are discovering about it are really indicative of deep principles of nature that we've yet to really explore thoroughly. Interestingly enough, what this picture kind of depicts is eddies, swirls, and the little bits of turbulence that we find in fluid dynamics, whether it's water or air. Essentially with very simple axioms, very simple starting points, initial conditions, the most complex things can emerge that we have no way of modeling, no mathematical conception of yet. And it's a new science. This is the Mandelbrot Set. If you look that up, it's deals with fractals. I guess I'm just interested in the frontiers of scientific exploration. So to me, this is cool. Like, this thing represents a pendulum that sways back and forth, and all of these lines, even if it's iterated or looped, let to run its course hundreds of thousands of times, none of these lines ever touch, because it's a three-dimensional figure, and so they go under and over and under and over. It's pretty deep. And then these have repeating patterns. You can see the big structure here, and then you have a circle with a smaller circle, successively smaller circles. And if you zoom in, and there's videos online on YouTube that go for 10 minutes of just zooming in. It's an infinite looping of nearly identical patterns, which is the interesting part about it. Is it's not as simple as just saying it repeats, because it doesn't just repeat. It repeats in an iterative way that changes very subtly, but distinctly as well. And it's representative of many things we see in nature. So I'll have to do a video on that soon. I'll definitely have to edit that part down. That was a long explanation of something I don't know a lot about. And then we have this picture here, which my books are all over the place right now. But this picture is a church on top of a rock that I went to in Greece. I'm looking for the book, but interestingly enough, my room is very chaotic at the moment, and the book is lost for now. But this church is very cool. It's like 600 feet in the air on a little island that's pretty much attached to the one of the fingers of the Peloponnesus in Greece. It would be like over here. This is east and west. And these people built an entire city below this church on this rock. facing the ocean, so that armies coming to conquer it from the land side don't actually see any of the actual buildings, and it looks uninhabited. And so it's kind of a way to hide. I think it was one of the bigger holdouts in World War II. Okay, so let's look at my list. I have 1, 2, 3. I have 5 more paintings to cut out. Got my scissors. Not really the best, but oh well. 628. All right. There we go. We recognize that one. So it's called Ancient of Days, a frontispiece of Europe, a prophecy from 1794. William Blake, right there. So 628. 628. Where is 628? Almost there. Nice. Yeah, I really like this scenic one. I think it's just really beautiful. Alright, let's, okay. I'll try my best to keep as much of the picture as possible, and of course I gotta risk cutting out all this on the backside, but it's an old textbook. Unfortunately, textbook for students. Everybody knows who's been to college or who's had kids that you've had to buy books for. You know how fast these textbooks change editions and depreciate. So with any luck, I can find a cheap replacement online somewhere. Let's see. Let me just stand up, I guess. There's Molly. Alright. Saying hi to Penny. She just went to Aldi, so I'm gonna go help her with the groceries. I'll be right back. Alright. Yeah, look at that. I just think that's so beautiful. Love the little deer. Serene, placid body of water with a cascading waterfall and some, what would you call it, just gigantic looming cliffs and a lush, green, old, you can tell, an ancient forest. Beautiful. I'm not as graceful as I'd like to be. And I'm curious, like Brendan Shanahan, you, of course, asked me about doing some art videos a while back. What you, some of you art buffs think about some of these paintings. So 543 is our next one. Is our next stop. Okay. So this one is by Pozo, created the illusion that heaven is opening up above the viewer's head by continuing the church's architecture into the painting vault. The fresco gives the appearance that the roof has been lifted off. Sorry, I'm reading upside down. This one is beautiful, so definitely wanted that one up there. This isn't easy to, Molly actually had a rotary cutter that was easier, but I'll make do with this. Nice. I never really was able to do that with wrapping paper, but somehow that just... Was it a miracle? I don't know. Hold on a minute. Let's reorganize these. Put these over there. Okay, that's better. Nice. Okay. Let me just trim this up. Yeah, hold it like this. Yeah, this one to me really caught my eye because of the perspective thing, how it opens up. The painting itself makes it look like the roof simply opens up into the heavens. And also, nice. Again, I don't know much about this, but let's see if I can find it. Okay, here, maybe I'm interpreting it wrong, but I like to think it's kind of a worldly view. Where's my pencil? So, this woman here is up here. She represents Africa. And over here as a representation, oh sorry, I'm way out of frame here. Representation of, it says Asia. So I think you have the four corners of the world. And then America, I think. Wait, am I right? Is that right? No, Europe and America. There we go. And over here we have Europe. And then it says America right there. So to me it's just a complex painting. Obviously a lot going on there. It's just beautiful. I think it'd be something nice to always look at. So there's that one. Let's go ahead. Alright, and we're actually going backwards through time. So next stop is man, what is it? Sounds like there's dust. Okay, our next stop is page 493. And yeah, by the way, I got way too self-conscious about my thumb, so I wrapped it up for you guys. Alright, here we are. Oh, nice, okay. So, this one is, get the mic closer. This one is it's by Tintoretto. This one's called The Last Supper. God, that sounds awful. Yeah, I guess I'll hold it up for you guys in a minute. Oh, there we go, never mind. Yeah, I just thought it was a really... Again, I guess I like the complexity, and maybe I'm too superficial. Maybe there's more superficially simple paintings that have a lot more symbolic complexity going on, but I like how all the apostles have halos. This little lady, I don't know what she's doing down here. Trying to serve. You got all the ghosts. It's kind of like, to me it's reminiscent of like this palpable spirit in the room of being in the presence of someone great. But it's a really dark room, and I kind of drawn to that for some reason. I don't really know why, but let's cut it out. And we'll take a closer look at it once I do. Well, okay. Okay, and yeah, luckily maybe I'll read about it after I cut it out, because there's no text on the back of it. See if these scissors can perform another miracle. If I just push them a little bit further. Almost. It's starting to rip. Nice. Not bad. Not bad. Yeah, pretty cool. I don't know, I like it. Hopefully you guys can enlighten me a little bit on it, but until then, it looks cool. And you know, I'm very ignorant of, I'm ignorant of my own culture's religion, Christianity, so I don't for a second pretend to have a good understanding of Islam or Judaism or Buddhism, Taoism. But I heard someone the other day talk about Christ as, the Holy Trinity being the Father, that kind of, the Father is the culture you're born into, is God. The Son is the physical manifestation, the divine individual in human flesh on earth, which is kind of the potential to be us. And then the Holy Ghost. I heard someone interpret it the other day as, when you take on a persona or, a personality, well, that kind of, it kind of hurts to be so closely associated with a particular set of beliefs. And as you learn, you have to kind of whittle away, or maybe even a better analogy would be to burn off the dead wood that might have been just words you were mouthing that you didn't necessarily understand or fully know how to interpret or believe. And you, in order for new ideas that have a more visceral truth to them, something you can feel, more tangible quality to them, more pertinent to your specific conditions and experiences, as those begin to emerge and they're more truthful to what you know from experience, you have to kind of, maybe they conflict directly with what you previously held. And I heard that the Holy Spirit was the representation, symbolically of course, of actually identifying with the process, with the person, the part of you that actually underwent the change. Not the beginning or the end point, but the transition. And I don't know, to me that was very astute. It was a very useful observation. And as the more I read Carl Jung, the more I understand symbols are everywhere. Other than the superficial status symbols of cars and money and, unfortunately for some attractive mates, or, for me, my books, I take some pride in, I have so many books, but that's kind of vain and a little bit superficial of me. But there's deeper symbols, the way houses, the way architecture is designed. Some places it's beautiful, and some places it's very ugly. Symbols are all around us, so it's kind of why I wanted to glue some of these epoxies, some of these onto my desk, to always look and be constantly reminded of these profound symbols that represent the nature of our existence, really. Anyways, let's get to the second to last one. Jump a little further back in time. So the next one is 463. And we have Mona Lisa and Da Vinci's sketching of the fetus and the lining of the uterus. I really wanted to cut that out. I still might. Oh no, that's right. We have his depiction of the school of Athens. And I really, really like this one, and I don't want my desk to be too cluttered. So we're gonna cut this out and see where we're at. And hopefully later on I'll show you guys the end product. Okay, so we want to be really careful and not get any white in there, but not cut as minimal out as possible. And just want to do it right. Although I don't mind some slight wavering, I think it's kind of adds a little human touch to it, to be slightly imperfect, of course. Let's see. We'll just cut this off. I guess it is more of a skill than a miracle after all. I gotta cut this last little corner out. And there we go. And then this side right here, will complete this picture. Very cool. Pretty happy with that. And obviously, the main reason I like this is because of the philosophy it represents. Okay. So we got one more. And that was the sketch of the fetus in the uterus. I was gonna do Mona Lisa, but well, I don't know why. Maybe I will. Maybe I still will. And for those of you cringing at me cutting up a beautiful textbook, I understand. I really do. But I ultimately justified it because even though it's not even my book. It's Molly's book, but neither of us really ever look through many of these textbooks that we have. Not now that we have the internet. And there's something so beautiful, even more so than just the drawing here. It's the writing, it's the aesthetic of having little sketches of the final drawing in the background. It's beautiful. I don't know, it's just representative, symbolic of the workings of a very observant and skilled, disciplined guy. I love it. Alright. And that does it for all my paintings that I picked out. You know, I guess I'll go ahead and I'll show you all of them laid out, and then hopefully I'll show you the final product at some point. Alright, so let's show you what I got. History is above all else the creation and recording of our heritage. Progress is its increasing abundance, preservation, transmission, and use. To those of us who study history, not merely as a warning reminder of man's follies and crimes, but also as an encouraging remembrance of generative souls, the past ceases to be a depressing chamber of horrors, and it becomes a celestial city, a spacious country of the mind wherein 1,000 saints, statesmen, inventors, scientists, poets, artists, musicians, lovers, and philosophers still live and speak. They teach and carve and sing. The historian will not mourn because he can see no meaning in human existence except that which man puts into it. Let it be our pride that we ourselves may put meaning into our lives, and sometimes a significance that transcends death. If humans are fortunate, we will, before we die, gather up as much as we can of our civilized heritage and transmit it to our children. And to this final breath, and to our final breath, we will be grateful for this inexhaustible legacy, knowing that it is our nourishing mother and our lasting life. Yeah, Goethe's plant. We have Andromeda. We have our telescope. The eclipse. What's that called? The Ascent of Man. William Blake's, whatever that is. We got the opening up of the chapel into heaven. We got our fractal. And then we got this beautiful church in Greece. Alright guys, I'm gonna wrap this up, try to get this table done, and I'll let you know how it turns out. Thanks for watching. Alright, so it's been 2 weeks, and this is the consequence of being in too much of a hurry. I'll walk you through my mistakes real quick, but that's okay. Overall, I'm not displeased with the design. I like how it turned out. It's got personality, as my dad would say. So this here is the main part of the desk. I actually had to you'll notice the lines here. In a nutshell, what happened was I had it going, I had it going pretty good, especially the parts that you witnessed that I had on film. But then I got ahead of myself, so I really learned my lesson here. I think I put 1 or 2 coats after I had initially laid the pictures down. And then I got impatient because the coats were taking about 24 hours to dry each time. And what I did, this is polyurethane, some polyurethane wood coating. I just laid it on real thick. I'll show you right here. And come to find out, it can't be laid on this thick. And honestly, I think this might be the thickest part right here. But it needs to be exposed to the air in order to dry properly and fully cure, so it gets hard to the touch. And in pouring it on this thick ended up taking more time than if I would have just set aside about 4 or 5 days to continually keep putting coats on once a day. I think it's been about a little over 2 weeks now, and you can see here these are just bumps, especially in the light. So the coating just simply, it dried on top, but it locked in the bottom layers, so they're completely gooey still underneath. So it's like a little layer of putty almost. I mean, overall, I like my pictures. Ended up, as you can see, I took out, I think, the chaos in the brain. The brainstem parts right here. The one gorilla picture. Did I take out both? Yeah, I took out both gorilla pictures. And I like it kind of opened it up, but I still left my quotes over here. And yeah, this was just a botched experiment, but you know, that's what it was to begin with. So I was a little bummed out, but overall, I'm not entirely displeased with it. To be honest with you, I kind of like having this now as a testament to taking my time, measuring twice, cutting once, just going slow. Even if something is going to take a while, it's worth not taking the shortcut. And as you can see, it's definitely 3 spots where I sanded way too deeply, because I didn't realize that this top layer, I guess, somehow is only a thin veneer, like a thin outer layer, and I actually sanded right through it. So that was another lesson learned. Just take your time, go slow, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel, so you don't have to backtrack and redo what you did anyway. So I think in time, like I said, it's been 2 weeks. I think in time it will eventually, you can see I can press into it right there, make a dent. It will eventually harden up, but maybe not. honestly, maybe not. I don't really know what else to say about that. I think I should have used epoxy if I was gonna coat it on that thickly. But as for this part, I just took Molly's rolling knife thing, cut this out. Of course, as you can definitely see, I left it real thick right there. And I re-sanded this down. I took a heat gun to it, and I scraped off all the extra putty, or polyurethane. Started fresh, right down to the wood. That's why it's sanded so bad. And I think this is only three or 4 coats. So it actually turned out really nice overall. I like it. It's hard. It's really smooth, because that was actually that was the point of the whole project to begin with, was that I wanted it, this wood grain actually had some little notches, in it. It was real wood, and so it wasn't, even though it's not perfectly smooth still, I can now at least write on it without sticking holes, punching my pencil through the paper as I run over some of these notches and wood grain ridges. So overall, I'm pretty happy with it. Took about 2 weeks longer than I expected it, but that's always how it goes when you don't know what you're doing. So yeah, I hope you guys learned what not to do. And obviously this isn't a woodworking channel, but if you guys do happen to want to do something similar, I could point you in the right direction. Or if not, just browse Reddit or Google. You'll find some useful information there. So I hope this was at least a fun little adventure for you guys to watch me botch.